Hi there, and hello. It's me, Michael from Thorpe, a podcast for big fans. It's the day after Christmas, and I'm already bored about my toys, so let's move on to something we all enjoy talking about superhero movies. That's right, I'm bringing you my spoiler review of Wonder Woman 1984. Now, like I said, this is a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched Wonder Woman 1984, stop listening now because I'm going to spoil all of it for you. Although the movie's been done for like 4 years, so it's already been spoiled on Reddit for like 4 years and a couple of months, so it's probably already been spoiled for you. But if you want to know anything about if you don't want to know anything about this movie before watching, stop listening now and then come back after watching and see if you agree with me. Okay, first and foremost, my feelings on Wonder Woman. If you can tell from the fact that I'm wearing a Wonder Woman t shirt, I love Wonder Woman. I love all things Wonder Woman. I love the TV show with Linda Carter, who, by the way, is a Maryland girl, so I've actually met her a couple times. She's super nice, and she looks exactly the same in person. She's gorgeous. So I love the TV show. I loved, of course, the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series. That's actually probably my favorite incarnation of her, voiced by Susan Eisenberg, fantastic voice actress. And I also love a lot of the animated movies that have come out throughout the years. As we all know, the DC animated universe is just filled with some really amazing animated films, and she's been voiced by Rosario Dawson and Kerry Russell, Lucy Lawless, all kinds of amazing actresses. And the Wonder Woman standalone animated film, I think she was really great in Justice League Apocalypse. She was really great in Justice League Doom. So, there's some really great versions of Wonder Woman, and I'm a huge fan. I also love the first Wonder Woman movie that came out. I thought Gal Gadot was amazingly cast. I thought Chris Pine was a fantastic partner to her in this movie as Steve Trevor. It was a really great movie. It was really well done. It was stylized. It really captured the era of Wonder Woman that was created when the character first debuted in the comics, which was this heroine of war. She was a fighter. She was just as strong as a man, just as powerful, which was a novel concept at the time that it was created. So really, I have nothing but love for Wonder Woman. That brings me to Wonder Woman 1984. You guys, it's a mess. I'm sorry. I wanted to love this movie so much. It's got Kristen Wiig in it. It's got, it takes place in the 80s. Like, there's so much about this movie for me to love as just who I am as a person, and also as a huge fan of Wonder Woman, and it's just like a big fan of comic book movies. Like, because I'm definitely one of those people who will give a movie a pass on some issues that I have with it because it features some of my favorite characters or because it goes somewhere that I really want movies to go that I haven't seen before. But unfortunately, this movie is just not the tea. I'm so sorry. So, first and foremost, let me just say this. I think the characterization of Wonder Woman in this movie is off. A lot of times people look at Wonder Woman like she's the lover, Batman's the brains and Superman's the brawn and she's the heart. And I never really got that from Wonder Woman. As a lifelong comic book fan and animated series fan, I always viewed the big DC trinity, Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman, as this. Batman is the cop. He fights the criminals. He solves the crimes. He's the detective. He's the person who's going to try to get everything done by the laws of the land, depending on whatever land they're in. Superman, he's like the firefighter, the first responder. He takes care of the disasters. He's the person who shows up. He rescues the kitten out of the tree. He puts out the fire. He saves the bus from falling over the edge. And then Wonder Woman, she was the soldier. She was the person who fought on the front line. She was the person who wasn't afraid to go there. She was the person who wasn't afraid to punch first and ask questions second, if ever. And I don't think they really capture that. And I don't know if that's a question of people just not understanding the source material, or of them giving it a different spin because it's a woman, or if them just not thinking of that as a very marketable trait in a character. But I always viewed Wonder Woman as sort of the soldier aspect of the major trinity. And we saw that a lot in the first Wonder Woman movie. And in this movie, like, not at all. So I will say there were some things that I did like about the movie. I liked the way it looked very much. It was very like Technicolor and bright. It looked like a cartoon or a comic book panel really come to life. And I actually did sort of like the tone of the world they created, where it did seem a little off from center and it seemed a little bit more like a fantasy world, not such like a gritty look at the world like a lot of the DC extended universe films take place in. And I like that because it takes us to a place where we can kind of suspend our disbelief and feel like anything could happen here and we won't think too much into it because it's a world where the rules don't necessarily apply. But unfortunately, they didn't really use that to their advantage. The movie felt boring, it felt long, and it really didn't make a lot of sense in a lot of places. First of all, let's talk about the pacing. It was a really long time until we got to like a big action set piece that really kept my interest. Because of course we have the action scene early on at the mall, but that action scene was a mess. First of all, I didn't understand what the criminals were doing. Like the one guy is they're trying to escape and he picks up a girl and he's like hanging her off the ledge and he's saying like we're going to get out of here, we're not going to jail. What's your plan there? He's just gonna hold this girl over the ledge until everybody in the mall leaves? Like, I didn't understand. Like, it was very weird. He was like struggling to hold this girl. Like, was he gonna throw a kid? Like, I just didn't understand like his thought process there. And just the whole fight, it felt really corny. You know, Wonder Woman's like throwing people around with her lasso and sliding kids across the ground into stuffed animals. It just felt really kind of silly, and it didn't make me excited to see more action in the movie. And then, of course, another thing that this movie does that a lot of superhero and action movies does is it depowers the character. Because of the wish that she makes to bring back Steve, she's losing her powers, so she's getting weaker. And that's like a trick that they do in a lot of movies because it's harder to conceptualize writing for a character as powerful as Wonder Woman or Superman, because they can pretty much do anything and there's very few things that actually cause them any kind of stress or anything that's a real challenge to them. So they basically just say like, okay, well then we'll weaken them or take their powers away. And we see that in a lot of superhero movies. Superman loses his powers because of the red kryptonite. Wonder Woman's losing her powers because of this wish. And that way we can see them have to deal with more human things that we can understand with and we can watch them struggle, and that's sort of a more human thing. I don't care about that. I don't want to see a more human experience. I want to watch Wonder Woman being the most powerful woman on Earth, fighting villains that are comparable to her, that villains that she can actually, rear up against and fight who are an equal to her. Speaking of villains, there are two in this movie. Kristen Wiig playing the Barbara Minerva version of Cheetah, and Pedro Pascal's version of Maxwell Lord. Okay, so both of these characters seemed really off to me. So Maxwell Lord in the comics, of course, he was a silent benefactor, financial backer for the Justice League who ended up through an accident getting mind control powers, and he was using these powers to control Superman basically, and Wonder Woman, as the soldier of the group, took it upon herself to snap his neck. And it was a huge character-defining thing for Wonder Woman because of the Trinity, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. In the comics, they were really not known for killing people, especially characters like Batman, who really was against his moral code to want to kill people, unlike in the movies that have come out where he's just killing everybody left and right. So Wonder Woman deciding to snap Maxwell Lord's neck to break this connection he had where he was trying to control Superman was really like a big deal for her character and really spoke to who Wonder Woman is. She's the person who shows up on the front line, does what needs to be done, and then accepts the blame for it. And she did accept a lot of blame for that. And the Justice League itself in the comics faced a lot of blame for that, for taking it upon themselves to kill someone that they viewed as a threat. And we see that in a lot of Justice League material. Like in the Justice League and Justice League Unlimited animated series, there's a whole through line about people not trusting the Justice League and being afraid that they have a giant space station with a laser on it and there are a bunch of unstoppable supermen and heroes. So I think it was a really missed opportunity to see some version of that storyline go through, and instead we get this weird version of Maxwell Lord who gets wish powers, who wants to be the richest oil tycoon on a nuclear destroyed wasteland. I just didn't understand that. First of all, wishes is the corniest MacGuffin of all script writing. To just say, like, well, it was magic, or, well, it was a wish, and they all have side effects, and it's whatever we want it to be. That's corny, okay? That's corny writing, that's lazy writing, that's literally like student script spec writing kind of crap. You know, it's just, I'm sorry, you can do better than that. And also, I didn't understand his plan. At the end, he's getting all these people around the world to make wishes so they would come true to keep him alive. But there would have been nothing left. The world was about to be destroyed in a simultaneous nuclear war, plus all the fallout from all of these crazy wishes people were making. There were people wishing to be the ruler of the world. It would have been chaos. So what difference did it make if he was a rich industrialist or oil tycoon when the world would have been basically destroyed? So his whole plan didn't make sense. And it annoys me, frustrates me that it comes down to Wonder Woman talking everybody down because she's the sensitive one. She's going to talk everybody out of it. She's going to level with people and you know, try to talk to them heart to heart. And to me, that just doesn't feel true to who Wonder Woman is as a character. She should have broke his neck, let's be honest. And then we have Kristen Wiig as Dr. Barbara Minerva Cheetah. So Cheetah, of course, is Wonder Woman's most famous foe. She's the one who's always facing off against her from the time of the Super Friends and the Superpowers cartoons to all the way through up until now, this newest movie. So it was a bit of a weird take. It was pretty much Selena Kyle from Batman Returns kind of take on her, where she was sort of a nerdy, unpopular woman who wasn't really happy with her state in life, and then she uses this new persona to sort of express herself. And it was kind of weird to think like that a woman director and a crew that had a lot of women working on the script had this idea for this character where to make herself feel more powerful, she first has to be viewed as sexy by people. So it's kind of weird to me that like the first thing that happens where she wishes to be more like Diana isn't that she starts to develop these powers or this confidence, it's that men start to pay attention to her. So I found that a little problematic. And then she gets turned into the cheetah because she wishes to be an apex predator, which in my mind is a lion is the apex predator. I don't know why she would get turned into a cheetah first and foremost. I would think lion or Tyrannosaurus Rex. Probably lion would be the thing that she would turn into. And then they have a fight that was kind of boring and not so great. The one thing I did like about it, though, I did like how they used the cheetah camouflage, you know, where it was dark and she would kind of jump and disappear and you wouldn't see her for a second. So I did like that. But again, it's another superhero film that's supposed to be a huge blockbuster that comes down to the main character punching a CGI blob. And that's kind of disappointing, where they could have just used practical effects. They could have put Kristen Wiig in a cat suit, you know, and just made her that kind of cheetah. Yeah, and I just didn't like it. You know, the action set pieces that they did were sort of weak and boring. They felt really kind of toned down, not only because of her loss of powers, but just because of the way and place that they set them in. So I didn't really think that any of them were really standout scenes. And then we have the return, of course, of Chris Pine's Steve Trevor, who to me was like a huge standout in the first movie. I think he really nailed that sort of debonair, swashbuckling pilot kind of character who took everything, you know, as it was and just said a little roll off his back with a joke and then stood right next to Wonder Woman and helped her out. And in this movie, he is brought back to life through a wish, put into the body of another man that Diana then chooses to have sex with without his knowledge. Is that okay? I don't know necessarily how I feel about that, and I definitely don't love it. But when I heard that they were going to bring Steve Trevor back, I thought, oh, fantastic. She's Wonder Woman. She knows the entire Greek pantheon. She's related to them, basically. All she has to do is go into the underworld and wrestle Steve's spirit back out of Hades' grasp and bring him back to Earth. What a cool thing that we'll get to see is Wonder Woman going into the underworld. Now, we brought him back with a wish. He appears in the body of some guy who lives in a horrible apartment and has, you know, pretty amazing taste in clothes, if you ask me. But, you know, interesting taste in clothes. And then he just is there for a while. And I know a lot of people had a lot of felt a lot of emotional resonance with this movie, like in the scene where she decides that she has to renounce her wish and have Steve disappear. But I just feel like none of it was earned. I didn't feel a connection to this version of Wonder Woman. I didn't feel a connection to anything that was really happening in the movie. And so when it came time for her to, wish him away, basically, and she had to turn her back on him until he had disappeared, it just didn't have the emotional gravity that it has with people who seem to be enjoying this movie. And that's the thing. A lot of people are enjoying this movie. This movie has really divided the nerd community. Some people are feeling very strongly the way I feel, that it was weak, kind of not so greatly done, and needed a serious rewrite. And there's a lot of people who are saying it is the best superhero movie they've ever seen and that they stand Wonder Woman 84. So, much like many superhero movies, it's really going to come down to how you personally feel about it. For one, my favorite thing about the movie are two amazing extra performances by my friends Parker Dam and Leland Clayton, who both appear in the movie as speaking extras, which is a great thing about living in the DC metro area, is that when they film movies here, your friends get to be in them. So I did enjoy seeing them in the movie very much. And I have to say, the movie was beautiful. The scene with the invisible jet, which also didn't make any sense to me, that Wonder Woman can just magically turn things invisible, and she's had 50 years and she's only practiced it once on a coffee mug, and so that was kind of weird to me. But the scene where they're in the jet was amazing. I really liked Chris Pine's performance of this guy living in this new futuristic world of wonder, getting to view everything with these new eyes. So I thought that was very cool, and it did look really good. Even though she didn't really do anything with it, I thought the suit of armor that she wore was very cool. It was a great visual. It did not look like it was from ancient Greece, though. It definitely looked like it was from the 1980s or the not-too-distant future, if it had happened in the 80s. And, of course, we did get a very cool cameo from Linda Carter, although, again, even that scene was not that great. But it was just cool that she was in it. So, unfortunately, this movie did have a lot of problems, and maybe I was just too much of a big fan of the first movie that I set myself up to be disappointed. It's kind of hard to say. So, let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Wonder Woman 1984? Make sure to keep it civil, everybody. I know we sometimes get a lot of emotions about how we feel either for or against a movie, especially when it involves some of our favorite characters like Wonder Woman, or some of our favorite groups like DC and the Justice League and stuff like that. But just remember, everybody's allowed to have their opinion. We don't have to all like the same thing. You're allowed to not like something I like. I'm allowed to like something you don't like. And that doesn't make anybody right or wrong. It just means we're different. Isn't that a novel concept? So let me know in the comments below, what did you think of Wonder Woman 1984? And where do you think this franchise is going to go next? Is there going to be a Wonder Woman 3? And if so, what direction do you think it should go in? As always, make sure to follow the Thwarp, a podcast for big fans page on Facebook and Instagram, as well as both of our hosts, myself, Michael C. Furr with 2 R's on all forms of social media, and Jake_my_day, Jake Lazier on all forms of social media. And tune in every Thursday for a brand new episode of Thwarp, a podcast for big fans. Thank you so much. Happy holidays!